Chris Rand still with me. Chris, a big question then. What happens now?
I'm still recovering from your rather adventurous music policy there.
I'd forgotten that one was quite so adventurous.
Yes, certainly is. What happens now? Okay, so I suppose we have to... Oh, no, I've done that thing where everybody starts with so. So
yeah,
2019.
And now you've heard it, you won't be able to stop yourself.
2019, it's the thing, isn't it? We had a couple of years ago, it was the Australian inflection with everything becomes a question. And now it's everybody starting every answer with so, and I'm doing it as well. So
yeah.
So, what happens now? Everything depends on which way Boris Johnson goes, and nobody knows, and that's the amazing thing.
When you say which way it goes, what do you mean by that?
We just don't know what his opinion is on leaving the European Union, for example.
Well, we know he wants to. Are you suggesting hard Brexit, soft Brexit, that kind of dilemma?
I mean, massive amount. Remember, we're now letting ourselves into an absolutely crucial year, probably 2 years of negotiations. We're letting ourselves in for 10 years of negotiations, of course, as everybody knows. But the next 6 months, or the first 6 months of next year, are critical. Then it will, whether then it will be the next 6 months that are critical, or the next 18 months after that, depends where he goes. And we just don't know what he thinks, which is, mind-boggling, actually, because the differences in the tacks they could take. Now, he is, renowned for just screwing up everything he's done in the past and saying, no, I never said that, I'm doing this now. So, even if he had gone into an election with a specific set of plans, it would probably be irrelevant. I mean, he's a utterly remarkable politician and character that he can do that, and it's been to his credit that he can make the most of it.
But with a larger majority, the influence of people like Rees-Mogg becomes less important.
Well, yes, that has been said by quite a few commentators, particularly on the Remain side, that this might be interesting. We probably need to find out also what the makeup is of this big new swathe of Conservative MPs. Now, I know new MPs don't tend to have a huge influence, but there is a massive number of them coming in from the Midlands and the North. Now, are these people that are going to campaign hard for their local manufacturing base? Because this is a different type of Conservative to the traditional Tory Shire Conservative. The Conservative Party has changed completely. We can maybe talk about that at a later date. But it is a different party now. And
not moved to the right.
Well, it's the right-left thing is changing as well. And the Labour Party has moved, the Conservative Party has moved, and just geographically, if you look at it, and the types of seats they're representing have changed totally. And it's no longer rural shires against the working towns or anything like that, which has been for 150 years or whatever. Such that the Labour Party was formed in the first place because of that sort of divide. This has just gone, and it's gone very quickly. The new people coming in, are they going to have an influence? The obvious thing to say is yes, of course they will. They'll want to stand up for their manufacturing industry. They'll want not necessarily a soft Brexit, but at least a drawn-out one with lots of stability that will kind of help their industries. And so you think that, but then again you think Andrea Jenkins, great example of an MP, absolute hard right Brexiter. Representing a Yorkshire, I think, constituency with manufacturing in it, so, and she's been doing that for years, and that's, so they can produce people like that. I don't know the constituencies genuinely, but I think, obviously lots of Conservative MPs have stood down or left the party, has been, various things. What will they have been replaced by? I mean, obviously, if South Cambs is anything to go by, one MP leaves, they replace it by someone who's, much more solidly down the centre of the new, more right party. Very much a party man, I suspect. We'll have to see. But certainly, way to the traditional right of Heidi Allen.
So that first cabinet is going to be...
Is he going to change the cabinet? I mean, the previous cabinet could have been chosen almost to troll Remainers. You know, I mean, he couldn't have picked... The day he announced that cabinet, he couldn't have picked a more outrageous set of candidates, you know, full of people who thought they'll never get back into cabinet again. You know, bang, Home Secretary or whatever. You know, it's astonishing. Now, is he going to stick with that? Or... We just don't know where Johnson stands. He could be anywhere within the party, and he's got enough of a majority now to do what he wants. They will support him. You're absolutely right what you say. You know, the extremes of the party, and if there is a centre extreme, or if there is a Heidi Allen wing anymore of the party, that's another wing. You know, he wouldn't have to listen to them either. But I'm not sure even how much that exists. I think it's bigger than we think. There's quietly, when we think of just how many Conservative MPs there are and how many we tend to actually hear from, there's a lot of quiet ones who probably exert more influence than we think.
Presumably he's not now going to have to deal with this discussion about a second referendum. I mean,
no,
that will have vanished now, because he'll say, well, this was the second referendum, effectively.
Yeah. There's no reason why he would have a second referendum. He was elected for this. He's got a majority, you know, and that's what the country's absolutely said. And you know, this is a general election. It's not something to be discussed. So. No, that will happen. The withdrawal agreement, you know, will be done by the end of January, possibly. We'll have to see. It says that the withdrawal agreement says that if we want an extension to has to be done by the end of June, so the next 6 months are critical. There's nothing like enough time to do the sort of trade negotiations that he wants to do by next year. You know, the option then is if he's going to have to ask for an extension by the end of June, or you know, we will then have to finish the negotiations by the end of the year or leave on no deal. You know, as I say, I just don't know where he stands. I don't honestly think that he is the kind of guy that would be interested in a no deal. I don't think he ever has been.
They didn't rule it out. They didn't really. I mean, several high-profile Conservatives were asked that and never ever ruled it out.
Yeah, that's all blah blah blah, though, isn't it? I mean, they know the economic. They've got probably, you know, a full 5 years now if they want it, I suspect. They are not going to want no deal 1 year into it, because, you know, in 5 years' time, whatever your opinion on Brexit, even if you think it's, you know, is a wonderful thing and opens up wonderful new economic vistas for the country, you know, even the Rees-Moggs of this world said that it's going to take 20 years to see the benefit of them. I mean, the short-term hit is going to be massive from a no-deal Brexit. Everyone knows that. We will go into, you know, massive recession, and it would be awful. Now, if they think they can turn it round in 4 years after that, before the next election, fair enough. But, you know, they are very aware of the next election, and I wouldn't bet on it. So I don't think that's even an option. And I think everybody knows that, including the EU.
We've got Lewis Herbert waiting to come in. We'll bring him in and talk about the future of the Labour Party. Just reflecting briefly on the election campaign. There are often moments in a campaign that turn it, you know, where somebody lands a punch on somebody else. We can think of the Gordon Brown moment when he called the lady in Scotland, I think it was, a bigot, and the kind of rollout from that. Was there a moment in this campaign that you thought that's it, that'll twist, that's when voters?
Didn't happen. The narrative going into the campaign, which was built up by the media generally, and perhaps, you know, behind the scenes campaigning, was that this country must not elect Jeremy Corbyn. He's a danger to the country. You know, whether that's true or not is irrelevant. That was in people's heads. That was what they had to turn around there, and absolutely huge clangers dropped by the Conservatives increasingly towards election day. Didn't turn it round at all. People just said, well, you know, I'd rather have a clown than someone who's a danger.
Thank you, Chris. It's 11:41. We'll have the traffic and travel, and then we'll be joined by Lewis Herbert.
Travel on Cambridge.